Hello there. Welcome to my studio. I'm a little dark. Does that help? Not really. Hello there. That's worse. Okay, that's a little better. Hey, welcome to the studio. I'm going to be painting tonight. Let me do this. And I got a lot of things going on. This. I'm taking that away. I don't know why that does. Oh, no, I don't want that. I just want it to be bye. Bye-bye. There we go. Okay, welcome to the studio. I've got a lot of devices up and going. I have my computer here that I'm going to turn and show you my canvas. And then as you can see here, I have a nice camera that's going to show my palette while I paint. Because sometimes I'll be mixing and then you're just looking at the painting and nothing's happening. So you can see both. Obviously the palette's going to be smaller. And then you can see down below me here, the still life that I'm going to do. So I wanted to be simple so it wouldn't take a very, very long time to paint and I would be successful. But hopefully you can hear me. I just forgot the mic is back here. But my brain wouldn't let me do something simple. So instead we're doing something very involved and we'll just see how long it takes me to do this. I have an 8x10 board that I'm going to be painting on and we'll just see. We'll just have fun. It's not big enough to do all the details, so I may try to simplify a bit. And so we'll just get started. I haven't put my paint out, as you can see on the palette, and I just thought that I would give you the full experience somewhat. I mean, I've been setting up for maybe 2 hours now, getting everything set up here, my board, everything arranged. It's a whole thing. It's a whole process. So I will, let's see, what am I doing? We're going to do this. Nope, we're not. Okay. Hold on. There we go. So I'm going to set up my paints and talk through them. And I'm just going to talk through my process. And I may go quiet for a while because I'm really concentrating while I'm painting. But as you can see here, say hello so I can see you. I can't see who's here unless you comment. And if you have any questions as I go along, please ask and I will take breaks here and there and answer them. I do have another screen here that if I glance down and see a comment, then I'll know there's one because once I turn my computer toward the board, I won't be able to see. So we'll just go from there. Let me put my hat on because this is my hat. And I wear a hat because I have an overhead light. I'll show you that attaches to my easel here. There we go. Oh, did we lose? We lost internet. Are we okay? All right. I have it wired, so hopefully it stays in and does good. Okay, so you can see here. And so it puts light down on my face. And this is just to shield my eyes, and that's black because black does not absorb the light. Okay, I'm going to switch this around here and put my gloves on. I'll put them on now. Do you have any questions while we're waiting? Probably, I don't know if you do or not, but you can see below the still life that I'm going to do. I wanted to paint some silver for you. And then I saw this green, I don't know what to call it, a vase, a jar. My gloves aren't going on very well. And I was very enamored by it, and that's usually how it works. I see something and I'm like, well, I can already see it painted, so I'm just going to do that. And so I thought, well, it's a little monochromatic, and I just had apples at my class today. We drew apples. Sorry if you can hear the rubber. It's a little distracting. So we drew apples today. Can you hear me okay? Just let me know if you can't or can. That'd be great. The microphone's behind me, so I forget to speak louder when I'm facing this direction. So we had the apples, and some people drew them. Some people did watercolor, and some of them did pastels. And I just love the colors of these apples. They're pink ladies. Here we go. Put them up so you can see. And they just have a lot of color to them. So I thought I'll pop that in there. Yeah, that looks nice, but we may be painting till midnight tonight. I don't know. So we'll just see, or I'll get to a point and I'll just stop. So I hope you're comfortable. I'm not going to rush through this because I want it to be successful. I want to do a good job, and I want to answer your questions and talk through things. So I'm going to try not to rush. Knowing people are watching, I kind of feel rushed, but I'm going to just let myself take my time and coaching myself. So I wanted to paint silver, and you get to see me paint that little picture that I like so much to paint. Welcome, everybody. Comment and say hello. I can see your comments. I'm going to get rid of the picture, and then we're going to put my paints up. All right, so I'm going to get this out of the way first. This is called a medium. Sometimes, well, the word medium is used in a few different ways. People would say, what medium do you paint in? And that means, do you mean like watercolor, or are you a drawer? Do you paint in oil? But this is also a medium, which means what do you mix with your paints while you paint? And there's different kinds of mediums that do different things. There's mediums you can buy and mix with acrylic paints as well. Mediums you can buy to make your paints dry slower or faster. And I'm trying to think. There's mediums you can mix in that makes your paints glossy when they're done drying. So my main reason for using a medium is because some of my paints are really thick, and they're like, I need them thinner when I paint. And some are perfect. So I like to mix something in while I paint sometimes. This is my white, so I always get a lot of it. And that just helps things. But this medium is poppy seed oil, and it actually makes your paints dry slower, which I do like. So if I'm painting and then I have to stop, I can come back the next day and the next day and the next day, and it'll maybe still be wet. It depends on the season, I've noticed. The winter, my paints dry faster. And in the summer, it's a little slower. So I'm not sure why that is. I thought it was a humidity thing, but then I learned that oil paints dry by curing, not by like drying out. So I'm not sure. I don't know the chemistry for that. So I have a couple yellows, definitely a white, and I do use a mixture of companies as well. I probably won't use a lot of red. A little goes a long way. And I do have a couple reds. This is a more orangey red, cadmium red, and this is a more like a purpley red, alizarin crimson. Zoe's in the studio. You can't hear her. Hopefully she won't throw up today like she did during my other live. Did you see the kickoff live on Tuesday? Hear my dog hacking in the background as I ignore her. So this is burnt sienna, which is a kind of more of a red-brown color. And then this one is just a brown. I do use this one a lot, so I'm going to give myself a little more. I usually don't have to put my paints out like this, but it had been maybe a week or two since I've been able to paint. So everything was kind of crusty. So I cleaned everything off. I have one green, Viridian, and I can basically mix any green I want with my other colors. And usually just use one blue, but I've got some teal, and I might try this phthalo turquoise to help me. And there we go. So I have my board. I have my board on the board. The panel that I use, all ready to go. And all right, let me turn this and then we'll get going. I'll try to keep an eye on the comments. If you have questions, please, please, please ask or give me something to talk about. Otherwise, I'll probably just keep talking anyway. It's okay. So I hope this works out for you. It's a little off to the side more than I'd like, but I want to use my computer because it's got the better internet. So hopefully that works. I'm assuming you can hear me okay, otherwise you'd be telling me. All right. No. Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that and see how it goes. If that's a problem, let me know. All right, usually what I do, just making sure everything's set. Okay, so over here on the palette, I like to mix my brown and my blue together, and it makes a really nice gray. And it's nice to just have something on the board once I start. This isn't going to work for me. I'll move this. I can already tell I'm knocking things over if I leave that there. Okay. So I do like a wash. A little bit of blue, and then this brown makes a nice gray. And depending on the exact shade you want, you use more or less of each color. If I want to go more gray, kind of a bluish gray, you're going to go heavy on the blue. If I just want a muted brown, then I'll have a little more brown. It's a really nice shade. I'm going to add more medium. So this just thins it down really good. There. I just want something on there so when I go to paint, it's not bone dry. And it's nice to cover up the white so that I'm not fighting the white of the panel as well. My panel is coming off the board here, so see if I can. It's a nice neutral color. And I wipe most of it off so that when I add paint, I'm not fighting this dull color as well. So it's kind of a mix between I want something here, but I don't want too much. There we go. And the next thing I do is draw out the image. And I just use the same mixture here. So I might take my time and I might get a little quiet here because I'm concentrating. If I don't do this part right, I'm going to be sorry. No, I can't find my... So in the beginning, a lot of the times I'll use a viewfinder and it helps me, I look through it and then I can decide where things are going to end up. It's the same proportions as my board. So kind of just helps me see the still life and where I want everything to be. Once I establish one piece, I'll do the tallest one and make sure it all makes it on the board. Everything else is going to relate to that. At least it should. Supposed to, if I draw everything properly. Mm-hmm. measure a little bit. In my class today, the reason we did apples was to practice drawing curves, but draw them with lines. And I found that to be the best way to do a curve. So I'm doing it myself with paint. So I do a little bit of drawing. I don't draw everything out, but I make sure I have what I need before I start painting. My hands are shaky today. Okay. Wrong. So here's where I make all my mistakes and get it all worked out. I think I forgot to breathe. Sometimes I don't breathe when I'm really concentrating. So who's watching? I can see there's people there. Anyone want to comment and say hi? Or do you want to loiter? It's okay if you don't. Okay, just making sure I've got these correct. I think I've drawn this too tall. Let's just see. No, this part no. I really want to take my time and make sure this is right before I continue, because everything's based on this. I mean, I can make corrections, but it's a little harder to overcome what I plotted out. And it'll just make it harder to correct. Okay, it's mostly there. Now I just want to make sure I get the apples the right size. So, oh, I got to do this up here. I forgot this. So I'm basing everything off of this shape here so that when I draw this out, it's not too big compared to this. So this is my kind of like my standard. So I was looking to see how far down this base goes compared to this. This little lid here, I think I'm gonna have to lift that just a little bit. What's the difference between the top of this picture? I think that needs to come down a little bit. So that everything relates to each other properly. And then this is kind of like what I look to after that. So when I'm looking to see where the apples are, I'm looking at the space here, how high this apple is compared to this, because now hopefully that's correct because I based it off of that. So then it gives me more things to look at to make it correct. Now I'm looking at the bottom of the apple here. Where does it line up? I use my brush. So I do this on the still life as I'm looking over there. Where does the bottom of the apple land on that picture? Which I think this is a little too high. And I can't be afraid to make corrections, especially now. I haven't done a lot of painting on it to be sad to lose what I've just drawn. So it's better that it's correct. All right. So here I go drawing my apples with some lines instead of curves. It's just a lot more easier to make it accurate, especially with a paintbrush. Okay, and then dip it there. This guy I will probably not spend a lot of time on so that he fades into the background. Am I talking loud enough? I'm not exactly near the microphone. If I need to speak up, please let me know. And so now I'm drawing this apple based on this one because hopefully it's correct because I based it on each other. Okay, so now I gotta get this done. Maybe I was avoiding it internally. It's a little intimidating. This is quite a complicated shape. What is there? Actually gonna make it a little taller. So you see I did the oval with lines again. Okay. I'm just gonna take away some of that paint. That's gonna be a lot to overcome. Okay, I think that's good. That's more than I normally draw. I just wanted to be really careful tonight. Okay. I'm just thinking how I want to do this. Sometimes I just start right in with the subject. Sometimes I do the background. I kind of feel like just starting with the subject. The only problem maybe is with the apples because if I paint the red apples and then I go back with white paint around here, it's possible I could accidentally drag some red into the white and then we have a pink mess. So maybe before I start doing the apples, I'll do the background, but I'm gonna hit these objects first. I gotta have a plan. Okay. So let's get rid of this because I need the space. This is a glass palette, and I can easily clean it with a blade. Okay. I think I'm going to go for that green. So mixing color, I normally start with the most obvious. It is not this green, this shade of green, but it is green. So I start with that. I'm trying to get it down to the right value, which is the light to dark. And then I'll make adjustments. It's much more muted. So I'll probably see some of that brown in. I think I started with too much white. So I'm going to bring some over here. So when I think I'm close, I'll just put a dab on there and see. But I'm still off. Yeah, still don't have it. So this one's a struggle. But I want to make sure I get it right. Because again, the next paint I paint is going to be based off of this. So I'm going to get it right. And wipe this off. That's better. just keep having to adjust it. A very slight value change because the light's hitting the tablecloth here and bouncing back up. But it's really slight, so we want to be careful not to overdo it. So I'm just going to go up and catch the light side of this vessel. I don't know what to call it. It's a very unusual shape. Okay. Just gonna look and see what I think about what I've done. Make some corrections. Okay. I'm gonna hit the shadow side, and then I'll have a better feel for if this is correct or not. the apples are reflected in the glass here. A little less color than you'd think. I don't see a whole lot of red or yellow in there, but I do see a tiny bit. Sorry, I'm quiet. Just trying to concentrate, and then sometimes I stop painting and just sit and look at it for a bit, see what's wrong, what needs to change. I'm about ready to start blending some of the edges that I put in. And then making some corrections. I think I started putting my paint down too thick, so it's getting away from me a little bit. And sometimes I start to lose a little control if I've got too much paint on the board, so I'm dealing with that a little bit. Gotta correct a little bit of this, and I kind of want to do it before I pull in the white, because then we're just gonna have a mess if I don't. We may still have a mess. Gotta correct a little bit of my drawing. Goes there. I'm going to do a little work with my edges. And hopefully it'll start to take shape a little better. Any questions, anybody? Let's see, if you're commenting, they're not coming through. Okay, so when I like I said, I was going to work on my edges. That means where the paint colors meet the other colors. For instance, I don't know if you can really see it very well there. It's kind of a hard edge here. So I soften the edges. And I look to see where I have hard edges and they need to be softened. So I'll get a nice soft brush, and I've got different sizes, and I keep it dry. So I just go in there with the dry brush and just kind of drag the paint where it needs to go. And then I wipe it off, and then I do it again. So I'm just gonna look. This is definitely too hard of an edge. And I often have to go back and adjust my edges because the brushes that I put the paint on with, they just naturally do hard edges. So I'm going to adjust that. And then I usually try to pull the surface down instead of across, because when I've got light coming from overhead, if I have a brush stroke that goes across, it's going to grab all that light and make a glare that I don't want that. So I usually try to make sure it's going somewhat downward instead of straight across. And this is why I wear gloves, in case you were wondering. It gets very messy. And I work with a lot of chemicals, and some of them are toxic. And I just like to know that my hands don't get covered in this now. I do get this on myself sometimes. But for the most part. And I kind of started it when my son was a baby, and he'd go down for a nap, but sometimes he wouldn't always sleep. And I'd have to go get him at a moment's notice. So I wanted to make sure that when I washed my hands, I didn't already have paint all over them. Or then I would, be cooking dinner in a little bit. So that's when it started. And now it's just habit because I'm messy. And then that gives me, I don't have to worry about being messy because it's just on my gloves. I'm gonna switch cameras and see. See if I can show you more up close. I know I have a skewed angle. So there's the painting. It's struggling a little bit, I'll be honest. I'm struggling a little bit. But I've been smoothing out these hard edges here. And I'm going to do some more while I'm holding it just a little bit so you can see kind of what I'm doing. I've got to get a smaller brush. Give me a second. Okay. So I'm going to go up here. See if I can hold it for you. So I just rake the brush through the paint a little bit and soften those edges like that. There's my still life over here. just looking at it, seeing what needs to be done next. I'm going to take just a little bit of a break and chat with you. Hi. How's everyone doing tonight? Oh my goodness, I'm beet red. It's warm and I'm nervous because people are watching. I've got pain on myself. So if you have any questions, I'm going to take this banner down. But I would love to answer your questions if you have any about the process. Let's see. So I wanted to let you know that we are going to have 2 more live streams tomorrow, and the little event that we're running is over tomorrow night at midnight. And if you don't know what's going on, I have all of these tiny paintings, and there's more behind the board, and there's more not on the wall. I'm having an event. I'm saying farewell to them, and they have really special pricing, and I've never done it that low before. And so this is kind of like it if you want one of my paintings at these prices. So you can do that. I think I put the link on the description of this video. If not, you can find it other places. And tomorrow we're having 2 live streams. If you're not aware, last year, February of last year, my house flooded, which took, the flood started in this room and went into the room next door, the room adjacent. So I lost my art studio for quite a while and took the opportunity to redo this room. And actually, my art studio was in the other room and I moved it in here. And it took a long time. I did a lot of the work myself. And so I've never really shared it. I shared a little bit while it was happening, and I always meant to do more content, but it was so hard that I just couldn't also do the content. So I just had to kind of endure and get through it without sharing very much. I couldn't. So this is the first time I'm sharing a lot of the pictures, a lot of the damage, and then just what this room looked like before. There was paneling in this room. It was not the prettiest. And just to show what has happened after flooding, which was pretty devastating. I thought I was pretty much done with my art career. I didn't really know how I would survive. I thought, how can I survive these months without bringing an income? I thought it was over. And it wasn't. So we are doing great and having this, and I've got plans for next year. So anyway, just sharing some of that story with the pictures, and also in looking for pictures, I found some pictures of my studios throughout the years, a different house we had, and then my old studio. So I'm going to share some of that with you just for fun. And then tomorrow evening is the event wrap up, and with future plans. So the devastation of a flood, and I would call it flooded with hope, because I just tried to be so hopeful. There were so many blessings within it. And so from flooded to now future plans and future hopes. So I have some plans coming the next few months for the holidays, and then beyond. I have some ideas for what I'd like to do with art, and then it involves you and things that I can provide for you. So that's tomorrow night. And then it'll be the wrap up, and the shop closes at midnight. So there is that. And I hope you've enjoyed them. Yesterday we had, I'm so red. I'm a tomato. Yesterday we had a live stream in the morning. If I can remember. Oh, it was just the kickoff. And then the evening, I did an interview it was a recording of a friend. She's a therapist. And we talked about how beauty and art can help you in traumatic. Oh, that's better. Now you can see my red face more. In traumatic situations, if you suffer from PTSD, things like that. So they use art and beauty in their practice. And so just tips on that. And then also, sorry, I'm tired. This morning, talked about how to help your kids get involved in art, engage in art, and doing art, yes, but mostly looking at art, like how to take them to a museum. If you don't have an art degree, if you don't feel comfortable with art, feel like you don't know enough, you don't have to. How can you sit with your kids with art and just enjoy paintings? So really practical tips there. So that was this morning. So those are all there on my Facebook page if you scroll down and want to watch them at any point. So I'm going to get back at this. Thank you for watching. Hi. And hopefully you can see it well. I'm soon going to get into that picture. Maybe you're waiting on that to watch me paint silver. So hopefully it goes well. All right, let's get some up again. I'm sorry the angle is the way that it is. I wish it were more straightforward. That is all I can do right now. Okay. Let's see. I need a few more corrections, and then I'm going to put some of those highlights in. I really don't like, well, okay. I want to put the highlights in because that's like the fun part, right? But if I don't do all the preliminary work, highlight won't work very well. So I like to kind of ignore them and then do the work, get the values right, get the drawing right, which needs to be adjusted as I'm glad I took the break. So I was not looking at it for a little bit. And now some of these problems are a little more obvious. So if I don't do the work, do the values as they are, I get distracted by the allure of putting a highlight in. And then the shininess and reflections of the object are just based on the highlight. So I like to make sure I have all the other things going on properly. I think I'm going to have to use my background to start cutting away at the drawing a little bit, because there are some problems. Some days I just don't have good painting days, and I feel like tonight's one of them. My apologies. And sometimes it's kind of effortless. It just depends. Some days it's just so fun and I just have a blast, and sometimes it just feels like work. So that's just how it goes. Some days I have deadlines and I don't want to paint, but you just go in and you do it because that's the job. That's life. So it's not always like what you might think it would be. Okay, just trying to tighten up some of these details that I left a little loose. I tend to, I don't know if you noticed, I started off with a really big brush, and now I'm working down to a smaller brush. I go large shapes, and then I make those adjustments smaller and smaller. Keeps the painting stronger, I think. If you start with the big shapes first, and it simplifies it too. It can be really overwhelming if you don't simplify what you're seeing at first. All right, just doing some corrections. It's starting to look a little better. All right, now I'm starting to look for some of those value changes that may give away some reflection. And smaller shapes. I have a question. Oh, wrong one. Where are my comments? There we go. Hey. What size of the canvas? This is an 8x10. And I'm sorry, Mom. This is my mom. This is the lady. This is. It's backwards. Are you proud of me, Mom, now? This is the lady that when I said I want to switch to a major in art, and I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, and I don't know how I'll make money, how I'll get a job if I want to paint. She said, go for it. And supported me. My father did as well. Supported me to change my major. So everything here is because of her support and my dad's support. So I love you, Mom. Thank you. Did I just keep everyone from commenting now? Are you sorry you said something? Pretty soon, I'm going to put those highlights in and then I'm going to move on. Because normally I would probably spend 3 or 4 hours on something like this. And I did not choose a simple subject because I'm crazy. It's really hard for me to go simple. So I have to kind of force myself sometimes. So probably don't need to do this one to finish. I don't know if anyone plans on being around at midnight. I kind of don't want to paint till midnight. So I'm going to maybe speed up a little bit and go a little looser. Just want to get some of these really important shapes in so that it starts making more sense. Gotta get that apple in, and then there's a shadow from the apple over here that's being reflected. Make sure I've got my shadow here too. Let's make it a little closer. Yeah. Okay. I think it might be highlight time. Yay! All right, so let's see. What kind of highlights we got? So I'm going to get a brush called the Rigger. It comes in different sizes, but basically, let me see. I can show you. They're just really a really long brush, long and skinny. Sometimes I use these to sign the paintings with. So I'm going to start with that and see how I do. So the thing with highlights, you really don't want to overdo it. It's easy to do that. Everything's white and everything's big and lots of highlights everywhere. No, because it's really not always like that. And don't want to go totally to town on them because it's just distracting. When you're looking at something, you don't see everything. So when I do a painting, I like to kind of leave some things undone a little bit. And so I'll choose some highlights to make sure they are prominent. And the other ones, I allow them to kind of be a little less. less trying to get your attention. So some of them, as you can see, I'm mixing some colors in. I don't do mm, all my highlights white, bright, because the ones that I want to kind of not be prominent, but just be there, I have to make them not as white. So there's some really tiny ones in here that I might just dab in. I don't want everything to be like the first thing you see. This one's a little more prominent. Some of these I can see kind of yellow in them. So I'll try to add that in. Kind of get a ridge of paint. Kind of want to load it a certain way so that when I put the paint on, there's some thick paint there. It's nice to do thick paint with some of the highlights that you want really prominent, because if it sticks out a little bit, the light from above is actually shining brighter on it. Not just because of the paint, but because it's sticking out a little bit more prominent. So you want there to be a thickness there sometimes. I'm going to make this one a little skinnier. Kind of tiny. Okay, I'll do the big one now. There's a big one right here. And that one is very bright. So we'll try for it. Usually you have to really work it. Sometimes there's a soft edge. Now on the silver picture, there's a lot of soft edges around the highlight, but on this one there isn't. So I might not have to do a lot of modeling on it. White straight from the tube. At least this white is a little on the cool side, so I warm it up just a tiny bit with some yellow. And then I'm going to get a little edge on my brush. I think just going to get rid of some of the paint here, so I'm not fighting the paint when I put it on. Maybe I should use my paper towel for that. I do use shop towels. They work really well. They last a long time. If I use regular paper towels, I really go through them. I'm just trying to get down to the board, so when I put the white down, I'm not fighting all the paint that's already there. All right, let's see how this goes. Trying to get the shape of it right. Well, the surface of this vessel is so smooth, so I can like basically see the light and the ridge of my light. I'm not going to paint that. But it is very hard edge. But I am going to soften some of it. And then there's a little bit down here too. That's more prominent. So I really want this one and maybe this one here and this one here to be kind of the most noticeable ones. And then the other ones hopefully will be a little lesser bright. That didn't work. So I'm going to do it again. That happens. And then I'll make this one not so bright. Go back on this one and make it a little brighter. You might not be able to tell, but I can tell here. Well, that really helped a lot, just adding those in. Plus, it's kind of fun because when you do add them in after you've done all the other values and all the work, it's kind of satisfying to be like, oh, there it is. I'm going to soften some of that main one. Let's see, I better get a different clean brush. I'm actually going to fix the painter on there too first, because I wiped out too large of an area and now it's a little messy. So I'm going to do that first. All right. So I'm just kind of pulling some of the white paint into the other surrounding paint to kind of blur it just a little bit. Because as the light comes to you and it's so bright, there is a glare around it. And I'm just going to add a little bit more on top so that it's very, very bright. Sometimes I spend a lot of time on the highlights. You wouldn't think so, but just to make sure they're just right. There. All right, I'm going to take the phone off and give you a better view real quick. I have got paint all over. I think paint got on the handles of my brushes. And then it just gets everywhere after that. So, okay, so this, I'm feeling better. Maybe I just needed the highlights. All right, I'm gonna grab the phone. You might hear some noise. Okay, let me switch this. Okay, so there she is. So that's a little better. Feeling better about it. Here's my still life. And then I have my things here. Everything I need is right here, including the dog. She's being so good for me. So there is that. All right. Let me make sure this is all straight. All right, I'm going to tackle the silver now. Yes. I'm like, am I? Am I really? Yes. Yes, I am. Okay. So I need to clear off a little bit of space. I'm going to clear off. I'm going to keep some of this green because I don't want to get rid of all of it. I might need a little bit later, but I do need some more space. Some of that color wasn't correct anyway, so it's fine to say bye to it. Okay, so I'm going to look at the picture a little bit and just kind of envision. I've painted over my drawing a little bit. I'll have to overcome that, which is fine. That shouldn't be a problem. Just have to get rid of it. Maybe a little bit of comes there, and then this is going to come out. Something like that. So I just want to get rid of it a little bit. So again, I'm not pulling all this green into the picture. But we want things to work together, so I don't want it to be like too rigid. Okay, so there's so much going on with this picture. Let me pull up the, so much. So with this, it was just kind of a smooth fade. Oh, you can't see my mouse, can I? I'm pointing. There's a smooth fade on the green glass with a little bit of hard edge at the bottom and then where the lid is. But on the silver pitcher, there's so much going on. There's also some patina going on that I may ignore just so that it looks a little more understandable what's going on. So I need to simplify. And what I will probably do, as I squint at it, it simplifies everything for me a lot. So I can see the upper portion of the picture. So the upper portion of it is darker than the lower portion because the angle of the picture is facing down, the light is hitting the tablecloth and bouncing up. You're actually seeing the tablecloth here. And then the upper portion is just a reflection of the rest of the room, which is going to be a little darker. And then the inside's even darker because it's facing the ceiling and there's no light coming from the ceiling. So as I squint, I'm kind of thinking about these large shapes of dark and light. And a lot of times I'll start this picture. I don't know how many times I've painted it. Maybe a dozen. It's always very similar in that I just kind of block in the dark and then I block in the light and then I go from there. Then I make adjustments just like I did here. So you'll see me do that. I hope it'll be all right because it's even smaller than the other one. So here's that. All right. And it's a little skewed for you. Sorry about that. The computer is kind of a little bit in front of me and I'm worried I'm gonna knock it over. Let me see if I can pull it over just a little bit. All right. So I'm just kind of looking. So the mixture that I used for the background, I'm going to use it again to get my grays, my warm grays, is that brown and that ultramarine blue, which is really nice combination because however, let's see, whatever the proportions are, it looks nice. some artists do gray in different ways, and you have to get it just right or it looks kind of weird. So I really like this mixture. It's a warm gray, and when I say warm, I mean you're kind of towards the yellows and the reds, and it's very subtle. Um, it's subtly warm. It's not like I'm painting red, but that's just is going to describe where I'm headed. So I'm going to start with my pretty much black. I can make black with these two colors. And then I will add some white and some more, a little bit of yellow to warm it up to get my range. I don't generally pre-mix my paints because I just mix what I'm seeing. But in this case, I know I'm going to need this. And where I paint silver a lot, this is pretty much where I'm going to head. So I'm just going to kind of lighten some of it. And a little bit more warm. Here's a question some people sometimes ask. Why is your palette gray? Why are your walls gray? Why is your room neutral? Because it helps me judge color. The palette is not white. And if it were white, then I would mix my paints too light. I wouldn't have enough darks. So the gray is like middle color, middle value. It's like 50% between white and black, so that I can judge my colors well. And that's why I decided when I redid my studio that the walls would be gray, so everything would be very neutral and I could judge my colors and value easily. I had yellow walls in the other studio, and I think it affected how I painted and the colors. Okay, still heading toward the right color here for the light side. There we go. I think that'll do it. Oh, it's basically the same color as the board. I really am painting. I'm not pretending. I think I need a little more yellow. More yellow. All right, well, there it is. You can't hardly see it, but I think that's close. Let's get another one for the darks. This will start off looking like weird little puzzle pieces. It'll come together. I don't really know what started me painting silver. I just know that I kept doing it, and before long I was really comfortable with it. It tends to be something that is intimidating and really difficult for other artists. For some reason, it really clicked with me. And then it just became something I really enjoyed doing a lot of. Oh, that's wrong. I thought it was too light. I'm just trying to mask in the dark area, but also taking consideration all the little variations in there. There's a lot going on. All these reflections are so much that I'm not going to put in. So I've got to kind of ignore it a little bit, but yet put in the things that are important and will show the form and make it make sense. All right, so down here it does get darker again because the base is blocking the reflection from the table. And again, I've got a lot of that dark patina here. I think I might leave it out because I think it will make it not make sense. I don't think it'll translate well, so I'm gonna ignore it. I'm allowed to do that. So here's where the highlight is, and there's a lot of like glare around it because the picture's not like perfectly smooth like the glass is. So I'm kind of allowing for that. There's a lot of soft edges here that I'm going to have to go back and work. And I'm trying to add that lighter paint in now, so I'm not fighting the dark paint later. Oh, I just noticed there's a little sliver of red right here from the apples, so that'll be fun to put in. Let's see, how am I going to do this? So right now I'm kind of in my zone. I struggled with this. I'm not struggling as much. There's some glare with this highlight, but not as much. There's a little tiny highlight here as the picture goes in. I'm gonna make sure I get that. And my brushes are, I'm choosing smaller and smaller brushes because my shapes are getting smaller and smaller. I really didn't block in the whole thing. I'm kind of starting to tighten here. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm going to block in this top here so we have kind of the whole form. There's actually some burnt sienna in there I'm seeing tonight. It's more of a red brown. So I'm definitely going to put that in so that it doesn't appear more monochromatic. I started off, I was just going to do this silver pitcher. Then I put that away, and then I pulled something else out, and that looked monochromatic too. And then I saw the teal vessel, and I'm like, oh, I got to do that. And then I thought, well, That's too simple. And then I put this over with it and then, oh, we need apples. How about that too? So that's how that went. Okay. The little handle is coming here and making a shadow on this side. I gotta put that in. There's a couple darker areas I want to add. Got that. I had to plan that little thing out. My hands are shaky tonight. So some of it's like, can I do this and how best to make that shape? Because if I messed up, I'd have to wipe it out and try again. I'm not touching that again because I'll mess it up. Let's see, how does this attach? Like that. Oh, there is light right there. Okay, this is starting to come together. Hopefully you can see it now a little bit. It's probably small for you, sorry. Got another highlight on the inside. So again, we're having some glare start. To put that in. I think this is a little too bright, so I'm going to add some color to this. Down here, I kind of just move around and see the next thing that needs to be done to catch my eye. Okay, the apple's gonna be there, so I don't want to paint there yet. And then we've got some ridges in the picture, so I'm going to put those in. Kind of subtle. They're there, but I don't want them to be begging for attention. Okay. Just taking a minute to look it over. Got a nice highlight on the ridge here of this mouth here, or this spot. That's always the hardest, it's just this, like a hairline ridge. I don't want to mess it up. That's all right. Surprisingly, just the way my brain is, I think the picture was a lot easier than the teal piece. I don't know why. All right, I'm gonna tackle the base in the same way, and then I'll give you a look, and then I'll work edges and fill in some any other places need to be filled in, and then we will do the highlights. And this picture will be done. It stopped short. This goes down further. This base is tricky, so I'm slowing down a bit. I don't want to mess it up. So I'm taking in the, drawing a little bit. Okay. Deciding how best to simplify this. I'm gonna correct a little bit with the base here. Okay, so I'll give you a better look at it, and then I'll finish it up, and then I'll give you another look. Let's see. And there she is. So mostly blocked in. Well, all blocked in, I guess. And so I'm going to soften those edges, and I'm going to add the highlights in, and then she'll be done. So I'm looking for the places that are very soft. I'm getting rid of those hard edges. It's highlight time. Looking for those white brushes. The brushes with white paint on them. I think I've got them. I'm going to do the main one first and then go from there. Highlight's pretty warm, so I'm going to add some paint to that. All right, those are the three main ones. There's a ton more that I will put in, but not as bright. After I finish with the highlights, I will let you see it again, the difference. Oh, I forgot to put the color of the apples in. I'll do that too. Okay, I'm gonna soften some of these. All right, after I soften, I usually have to go back and correct a little bit. So I'm gonna do that, and then almost done with this picture. Okay. All right, here she is. I will probably post a picture in the comments. You'll be able to see better. So just that little bit of work, the softening the edges, putting the highlights in, softening around the highlights, and then putting them back. And she's come together. So the apples are last. Let's tackle those. Oh, I think I turned my phone off. What did I do? There we go. Okay. Okay. Oh, I still didn't put the red of the apples in there, so I'm going to do that now. Just a dab. You might not even be able to see it. I can see it. And I'll put a picture up so you can see everything better. Okay. Now we have a nice punch of color. So I'm just looking at the colors here. I think we can take most of this away. All right, so I'm going to start with a larger brush and block in. This red cat is very thick, so I will for sure need medium for that. I'm going to go for the shadow side of the red. It's a little bit of reflection from the tablecloth onto the apple, and it kind of makes a hazy bluish color underneath. So I'm going to put that in. Seeing a lot of green in here with the yellows, so mix that after I do the yellow. These apples have so much color. There's the color that they are. They're just called the local color. And then there's what happens with the light and the shadow that makes changes. So it can get a little complicated to paint what you're seeing. I'm running out of clean brushes. And the thing you might not think of is all the cleanup after. So by the time I paint one of these, even the little ones, I'm 5 hours in or more because of all the setup and getting everything out. And then I have a jar full of brushes to clean. And that takes, feels like an hour to do it right. So it's a lot. And it's a big process, but it's a gift. It's fun. All right, so I'm going to get in there. The really deep part of the apple has this little extra dark place, and I'm going to get that, and then she'll really pop. And then the stem, I got to do something with the stem. She comes out here. Oh, we got a nice drop shadow too. Let's get that in. I totally avoided the background and the fabric completely. Too brown. Everything's floating. I guess I better take care of that, huh? That works. The stem comes out and catches that light, which is really nice. I made it too long. So let's shorten that up a little bit. There. And then it's got a little dark tip. I almost forgot the highlight. Okay, let's soften some edges and then we do highlights. Are you seeing a pattern here? We do the blocking in. We go from large brushes to small brushes. And then we do all the little details. And then we soften. And then we do highlights. I need a dark shadow here. Shadows are important. They show the form. You think about a photograph when you use flash and the flash is coming at your face, all the shadows are gone and it's looking really flat. So you need to make a nice strong painting. You need that light from the side to create the shadows. I lost my shadow here, so I gotta put it in. Okay, soften edges. I think I feel like I've used almost all my brushes. Now this apple is gonna be, I'm gonna try to not develop it as much so it kind of goes in the background. And it's just kind of there, but not getting all the attention. So I'm guessing this apple. Because of color, you might look at this first. Because of high contrast, you might look at this first. I probably would go to the apple first. I do like adding the pop of color. It's quite fun. I think that's it. Okay, highlight is definitely not white. I'm just going to add some white in with what is here. Maybe a little blue. Sometimes you can make things look brighter just by changing the temperature of the paint. Against something so red and hot, if I just add a little bit of blue, it cools it off without having to make it bright. Kind of a illusion. Kind of a wispy highlight because of the surface of the apple. I think I'm going to leave it like that. Okay. I need to put the fabric in. I've been avoiding it. Like right now, I'm ready to stop. But I can't leave it like this, right? So I'm gonna put the fabric in and probably some of the background for the reasons of cleaning this up. This apple will be a bit of an afterthought so that it's not too developed. Let's see if we can just pop that one in easy. Less detail. I'm curious to know, has anybody watched the whole thing? I've seen a few people the entire time I know my mom had to leave. I saw that later. She was probably already gone. But I saw it. But has someone watched the whole thing? Because if so, thank you. That's really cool. I don't know if I'd watch somebody paint. I'd rather be painting. This apple has some stripes. I don't know if that's going to be successful or not. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Before I do that, let's soften first. Soften the outer edges as well. Your eye naturally goes to hard edges and high contrast. So if there's something that you want to be prominent, then you're going to have high contrast and hard edges. And if you want to not have your eye go to it immediately, pick some edges to soften. Let the brush kind of pull some of the color into other areas. I'm not going to have as many details. I didn't paint all the darks as dark as they are, as dark as I'm seeing them, because I want that apple to kind of stay in the background a little bit. Correct some drawing there. There are a couple little highlights, but it's in the brightest part, so it's not going to be a lot of contrast. I will put them in so she looks shiny. Hi, Lena. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know when you commented. I just happened to look down and see. How are you? Thanks for joining me. This was too much. Oh. This corner is bothering me. Maybe I need to add more of the other color. And again, there's some reflected light from the tablecloth back up here. Let's put that up a little bit. So adds to the realism. Oh, I like these apples. I feel like I want to paint apples more now. All right, I am going to let you see close up of the apple just as soon as I correct something. There's this, the bottom of the apple looks so flat. There we go. Oh, that's bad. All right. That little apple in the background might be my favorite. She was so easy. All right, well, let me let you see close up, and then we'll start wrapping this up. I'll get some fabric and background when needed, It only took, how long did it take? 2.5 hours. So, all right. Good enough to eat. Oh, I'm really happy with those. So the painting just gets better as I go. I guess I'm warming up. So here we are. And now time for fabric. And we're just gonna keep going. Usually I'd probably walk away for a few minutes. But I'm not gonna do that because we gotta go home stretch. Okay. Oh, my palette is looking beautiful. Look at that. That's a work of art. I do love these colors, that teal with the red and the like the orangey reds. That's a lot of fun. Okay. Start off with 3 values. Just so I block them off. And of course, there's subtle changes throughout. So I'm gonna do some squinting. It's very light, the fabric is. So I'm thinking how I'm gonna approach this. Okay, I'm gonna clean this off first. I think I might do the shadows first. And let's see what happens. More space. Get some more paper towel. Oh, I'm very messy tonight. I usually don't get this messy. It's all over my brushes, like the handles. Any artists watching? I know, Lena, you're an artist, right? If I remember correctly. How messy are you? Are you this messy? All over. Oh, my palette's gone. I just noticed. I must have pushed a button. Okay, there we go. That good? There we go. Now just showing you my very dirty hands. This is why I wear gloves. Because I can wash my gloves, use them again. Next time, I'll use them for months. These are automotive gloves, so they last a really long time. And then my hands are mostly clean underneath. It's great. Okay. Fabric. I'm going to get a couple brushes, a light brush and a dark brush. Well, one for light paint and one for dark paint. Let's see. Who do I want? So this is gray. The fabric is gray. The local color of the fabric is gray. So then we have dark gray, middle gray, light gray. So I'm going to do my same mixture, my blue and my brown, but more blue than I've been doing because the picture was a warm gray. This is a very cool gray. It's just real gray, actually gray. So we'll do that. All right, let's see how this goes. Fabric is another thing. Even at college was easy for me. However, not easy for my peers. Well, not generally. So just really thankful that some of these things just clicked. It did work hard. Everybody worked hard. But I enjoyed doing the fabric. A little too dark. And this is fun because it's just some abstract shapes for me. Of course, you want to do a good job, but it's more forgiving than the vase would be. And then the nice thing is some of this here is going to show off. There's like a bright highlight on the edge, the outside edge of this picture that you couldn't see because it's the same color as the board. So I'm going to be able to kind of showcase that. Okay, and here's where I can really loosen up with the brush strokes and drag some of the paint around a little bit and give it some movement and just have fun with it. Kind of define things a little bit too, some of these edges. Kind of went brown with this shadow, but it's more gray. So that's kind of it for the really dark shadows. It is it for the dark shadows, that kind of. So I think I'm going to do, there's a few lighter sections. So I'm going to go back and do those and just kind of keep working it. Get some more brown. There's some shadows, other shadow sides here that are quite light in comparison. The fabric is just turning away from the light just a little bit, but it's not because of an object. I think I've got too much blue. Better. I'm remembering I was going to do the background before I did the apples, but I think I'm all right. Sometimes when you have these really saturated colors and then you come up toward it with white, if you don't get it just right, then then you have pink around around the object, but I think I'm okay. Oh, this is fun. I forget how much I enjoy folds. There's a lot going on with some of this fabric. It's kind of weaving in and out. But I think I'm just going to mass it together because it's very close in value. Okay. Almost there. All right, now the lightest light. And then I'll do edges, but no highlights because there's no highlights here. Oh, let's get a brush for white. Well, it's not really white. It's just lighter gray. There we go. I think that's good. Okay, let's take care of some edges. Some edges I might leave a little more hard. Okay. Okay. Background, which it's kind of the same color as the fabric. I didn't really intend to do that. Let me think. How am I going to do this? This is the shadow behind the green vessel here. I might lighten that a bit. It's a little much. All right, let's cut away at this a little bit. Well, that's better. Okay, this is the other side. Well, the other side is a little more gray. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this. So let me just do this and then see how I like it. I usually don't do this. I usually do a little bit of background and then paint this over it, and then the paint works together a little bit. I don't usually like cut away, but I really had to correct some of this drawing. A little tricky drawing it, so do a little more here because it's off center. And I don't mind if the paint kind of messes up a little bit. That keeps it from being too perfect edges. All right, we'll finish that. I think I'm just going to let it vignette a little bit off to this side. Oh, hey, Hester. 10:16. Sorry, I don't know when you posted this. I don't know what time it is. So, thank you. Oh, just a couple minutes ago. Yes, it's a new painting, and I've been painting for almost 3 hours now. Yeah. So, I've been working on it for a while, and yeah, thank you. Almost done. I'll have to correct that. That's not right. So this is actually here. I don't know what I was thinking. Didn't see that. Okay. Let me just clean up a little bit on the background there. Let's see. So another dry brush. And I'm just going to let this fade out a little bit here. I'll blur it a little bit so it'll go in the background where it belongs. Okay, one last thing that you wouldn't think would take a while, but sometimes it does. So I have to sign it. So for signing, I use one of my riggers, little ones. And I have to thin it down a bit. I try to make it visible, but also kind of subtle so it's not like distracting to the painting. So I'll lighten it up a little bit. And then I gotta make sure I get a nice tip and enough paint to write with the paintbrush. Usually bottom right if I can. So for those of you who see my time lapses or just see pictures of the paintings, this gives you an idea of the deliberateness and the slowness of it sometimes. And making mistakes, wiping them out and doing them again. I need to soften an edge. And I never done when I sign it. There's always something. This is too hard of an edge on a rounded object, so I'm just gonna break that line in a couple places, and over here too. It's not soft enough, and not so much soft, but I kind of like make streaks with the paint here. Because again, I don't want your eye to go right to that edge. It's not really the point. So, okay. All right, I'm going to take the phone off. I'm going to take these gloves off and give you a look, and then just chat with you for a minute. And get my gloves off. Okay. Hi. I'm all flushed and red and warm and covered in paint. All right, so let's get a better look at this. And there she is. And here's, maybe you can see that where I crossed over that little edge there a couple times. It was a very hard edge and just too much. And there she is. So thank you for sticking around. That works. Let me get rid of that. Get now price so that they're not for auction at the moment.